Hazbin Hotel, the show I almost completely forget about after the finale of Season 1, but I just finished Season 2. Did I enjoy it? Hell yeah. The visuals, the songs, the highlights were the best joy I've had in the past few weeks. Did I think the show is perfectly flawless? No. There are so many things that I think it could have done better, as well as parts I really dislike about. This script is written before I look at any other discussions about the season finale, so I have absolutely no idea how the community thinks about it. Therefore, this is going to be my honest reflection on my personal experience watching Hazbin Hotel as a casual audience. By casual audience, I mean I wasn't very involved in the fandom. I'm not particularly enthusiastic about any certain characters or ships. I have heard that there were some leaks before the public release, but I wasn't interested in it at that time, so completely spoiler-free experience. I have seen some memes and discussions about the show through general social media scrolling, but generally, I had more shit to do in real life and far. Anyways, I'm not pretending to be a completely neutral commenter here. I'm not immune to bias. There are characters and ships that I found more interesting than others and felt fond of, but none of them outweighs my evaluation of the writing itself, hopefully. Once again, everything in this video is just my personal opinion, and you have every right to disagree with me, because your opinion is equally valid as mine, as everyone's. Please keep in mind that no one should verbally abuse anyone if they have different opinions over a cartoon series, because borrowing Gooseworks' words, unfortunately, people take these funny little internet cartoons very seriously. I started watching Hazbin when Season 1 was released, and since then, the positioning of this series has always been, in my perception, My Little Pony dressed up in some adult content. Some good old entertainment, the switch your brain off and enjoy kind of fun. And I enjoyed it. What stands out to me is that the show communicates its themes in a very direct, surface-level manner. The hotel is the good side, trying to give people a second chance, and heaven is the suppressor that promotes dualism, refuses to acknowledge the complexities of human nature, and enforces violence on souls. Interestingly, although the extermination, the massacre, seems like the main expression for heaven's unjust, what is actually portrayed on screen that effectively carries the argument for heaven's moral failing is the entire character of Adam. He is a narcissistic ass that is intentionally portrayed as having little difference to sinners, someone who enjoys slaughtering and places himself higher than anything or anyone else, yet he stays in heaven. On the other hand, killing and death carries little weight in the series. Mob characters are constantly being killed on screen, both by hotel residents, other mobs, and exorcists, that even the characters seems used to it. In addition, the main cast never feels actually threatened by their life. Carmilla's daughters are the closest we get to the depiction of brutality of the extermination, but that's it. It wasn't enough. These factors combined makes killing feels inconsequential, further diminishing the cinematic importance of the extermination in the audience perspective. Relying on one character to embody all evil is a smart shortcut, and an effective one, but it often degrades the depth of the deeper issues hidden behind. An example would be how Beastars in Zootopia tackles the same topic differently, the inequalities between herbivores and carnivores. In Beastars, you can hardly say any character is simply good or bad because they all have their own inner demons to fight. Demons born from their own standpoint and ultimately points to the systematic flaws of the society. While in Zootopia, the evil was Mayor Bellwether's conspiracy, and Zootopia happily returns to the utopia after she was defeated. Adam in Hazbin takes on a similar position as the main antagonist. Yes, it's Sarah who initiated the extermination, but Season 1 definitely focuses on Adam and his personal interest in killing sinners more. Meanwhile, Charlie and Emily's stand in the Grand Heavenly Debate song is depicted overtly and unironically righteous that I can hardly feel the writer's intention to make heaven stand morally good. To summarize, the debate between hell and heaven feels more like a child's play, and I wasn't interested in discussing about moralities and ethics in their context, while the show itself tackles these complicated topics very poorly, or at least on a very surface level. That was until the first 2 episodes of Season 2. Episode 1 and 2 of Hazbin sets up a pretty good stage. I was thrilled because the show felt like it's finally trying to tackle some complex topics by sincere and valid depictions of all positions, especially heaven. The tension between two sides suddenly became a lot more compelling, because once the show establishes that sinners are possible of getting redeemed, Sarah's moral dilemma becomes clearer than ever. On one hand, there is the blood on her hands from the past, the countless souls she exterminated through violence who might have the chance to be saved. On the other hand, there is the imminent threat pressing down on heaven, a threat that seems to demand even more violence in order to be stopped. Similarly, Lute is much more relatable and convincing than Adam. She fights to defend her home and take revenge for someone she deeply loved.
I am willing to give my life for heaven.
Which is much more convincing than someone who just enjoys slaughtering.
There's the question of fun!
And she's right, hell is uprising and posing a very urgent threat to the Holy Land, which not many heavenly officials even acknowledge the danger of.
I cannot hold my tongue when I have seen firsthand the destruction that demons have caused us. The threat they pose.
As for hell, even though episode 1 focuses mainly on the V's ambitions, it isn't hard to imagine that, under heaven's long-term oppression, a sinner's uprising would definitely have the foundation of public support. I was genuinely happy to see Hazbin move beyond conflicts that stay at the level of personal grudges between characters, and instead push toward a higher level of conflict. That shift instantly raised my expectations for the show and how seriously I wanted to take it. Well, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. And this layer of conflict is especially evident in Lute. The pain and wrath she carries, and her commitment to fight for what she believes, makes her such a likable character. Her moral flaw, though, is an extremely rigid black and white worldview. She is someone completely ruled by doctrine. She judges right and wrong from the standpoint of allegiance, and refuses to accept any counterexample.
Angels don't make mistakes.
I really hope that in the future we get to see her faith shaken by reality. For instance, if she were to encounter Adam resurrected in hell, and face the evidence that angels can be wrong too, and that the sinners she slaughtered are not inherently different from the citizens of heaven. They might as well just be people trying to survive. Because the complexity of real human beings simply can't be cut into a neat binary. Most people lies in a moral gray zone, and genocide should never be treated as a solution to anything. Violence can be an effective tool in certain moments, like when Sarah finally decides at the very end that she must deploy the army to defend heaven. But violence should never be the goal in itself, or it loses any claim to legitimacy. That said, precisely because Lute is written so vividly and so firmly throughout season 2, the final song, where she loses her will to fight within seconds after seeing Adam's spirit in Abel, ends up feeling stiff and abrupt. My immediate reaction? That doesn't feel like her. Based on the impression she's built up for the whole season, she might freeze for a few seconds, but she would probably snap into anger very quickly.
Yeah, don't deserve your dad's crown.
But she literally cowers immediately? In retrospect, I think the writer's intention is to depict how Lute is obedient to heaven's rules and hierarchy, even if she disagrees with it. But the scene depicted her as, like, her anger just vanished instead of being kept down. It made all the setups seem like a Chekhov's gun not fired. I can only hope that it fires in season 3, cause I would 100% love to see more development on Lute. Oh, and let's not forget this moment is an impressive highlight for Abel. I totally didn't expect a relatively minor character like him to get an arc, but even in just a few lyrics, it shows how he grew and find his courage for the first time. A big thumbs up for that. Let's talk about Vox, the absolute center of season 2 and Mr. Hottest Man in Hell, trademarked. This season devotes so much on him that even comes at the expense of some other characters in times. He was introduced as a careerist, someone who solely acts out of self-interest. Although similarly egocentric, Vox is different from Adam as he is power-thirsty and better at hiding his intentions from the public and his allies. Later on, we see more depiction of his swelling ambition and craving for attention, his morbid pursuit of others' trust, and resorting to whatever it takes to obtain them. We also see how he branded himself as a charismatic leader and a revolutionary figure. He thinks strategically, knows how to use benefit, manipulation, and coercion to recruit useful allies. And he is a great speaker that knows how to turn the tide, amplifying the pre-existing anger and hatred among Hell's residents and directing those emotions towards heaven to justify his war. If you didn't grasp it yet, the word Führer here is a pun intended. He truly becomes the avatar of the consequence of the extermination here, so much so that Sarah knows she can't do anything to him at this precarious moment, because sinners will probably attack right on if she does. I do think Heaven's Retreat could have a little more explanation to make sense of. Something as simple as Lute swings her sword towards Vox, but Sarah pulls her arm, saying, "We can't martyr him now. Heaven is not prepared." Anyway, back to Vox. Episode 7 as the final piece of his story. Can I just unironically say how amazing the song Brighter is? Not only is it super catchy, it conveys a villain's backstory that other shows might stretch into an entire episode, but Brighter manages to depict Vincent with striking power in under 3 minutes. Dude aura farms. We see how his hunger for attention is never filled, like an addiction that deteriorates his mental state and dominate his mind. This would be at the brink of overinterpretation, but I think it would make his character more complete if his morbid craving for trust roots in his deep distrust of others and well-hidden wish for an actual genuine relationship, like many NPDs in real life. We can use this idea to interpret his interactions with the other Vs and Alastor. Before episode 7, I could not sense anything genuine between the Vs. What's shown on screen is that they are an evil trinity bounded purely by interest, and Vox is especially good at masking his inadvertently revealed indifference and disdain by faking care, just like how he treats his employees. However, episode 7 gives us new exploration on that. We see Valentino is genuinely romantically engaged with Vox and values their relationship as more special than others. Velvet genuinely cares about the Vs and wants Vox to realize that they sincerely want him back. Even just a little bit, we could imagine how sincerity might have developed through their long-term collaboration. Quite a layered, nuanced relationship dynamic. On the other hand, Alastor was his first attempt of establishing a genuine relationship that tragically failed. In turn, Vox's emotions towards Alastor was integrated into a critical part of his hunger for power, almost like a defense mechanism, to the point that Alastor becomes the crest he must conquer to finally achieve his self-accomplishment. I knew the season finale is gonna be decisive for the entire character of Vox. I don't think episode 8 handled it badly, but I expected a little better than that. Vox was too deep in the loophole he created for himself that his own ambition swallows him and numbs his mind, making him pull out that stupid move of pointing the cannon towards Alastor and, as an unintentional consequence, hurting his people who were supportive of him. It works, but the irony falls a little shorter than I expected. I'd rather his downfall be something more inevitable, a conclusion that exposes the inherent flaws of his character, not just what he did on that spur-of-the-moment impulse. While I see discussions that sinners solve the problem by the power of friendship here, I think this scene right here—
You are not fucking killing us over that stupid deer!
It's over, you dumb fuck!
is the true power of friendship moment. In the end, your friends are the ones who risk themselves to stop you from making that stupid choice. Speaking of the ending, let's talk about the ending. This season still resolves the problem a little My Little Ponyly, but I do think it's still better than a Deus Ex Machina ending where Lilith comes out and saves the day, which would completely sideline Charlie and her friends' effort throughout the season. Season 2 ending is a pretty neat upgrade of the Season 1 ending. Last time we had a unification of the hotel cast, and now we have the unification of the Overlords and the entire Hell, even for just a brief moment. It gets me engaged in a way that made me believe Charlie's ideals might be possible for a moment, not just as a bystander, but as someone inside the story. Well, let's just say tropes are trope for a reason. What I dislike about it, though, is how Hell's public opinion shifts so dramatically to the point of being outstandingly unrealistic to me. I'd at least expect some sinners to follow Vox or Lilith's vision of empowering sinners, and would refuse to align themselves with the very heaven that once slaughtered them. Someone who carries Vox's spirit, not of personal ambition, but actually fights for an empowered, dignified Hell, like a Lute figure for Hell. I don't know, that would be interesting. Free fanfic ideas, I guess. Alastor. I surprisingly don't have a lot to say about him. His plan is logical enough in the context of this show. I'd admit that before season 2, I also thought Alastor and Rosie were simply friends, so seeing Rosie was actually his soul owner was quite a twist. But in the end, I like how the relationship dynamic played out. It became much more layered, and this duet is just beautiful. 我靠，谁懂啊？太音乐剧了。
You'll watch them die unless you dare.
You wouldn't dare!
Quid pro quo, it's only fair.
I have a little confusion though that I'm not sure if it's partially due to cultural context. For Alastor's backstory, I came across a post explaining that he was likely mistreated by the producers because of his color, and that his arc echoes a broader idea from early 20th century America that non-white people could only achieve mainstream success by diluting or masking their racial identity through race-neutral mediums like radio. I have no idea if this is the authorial intent, but it does make sense to me in retrospect. I'm just a bit confused. Is this an idea that's easily grasped by American audiences? Like, is this something that you would immediately realize on a first watch? Because I grew up outside of this cultural context. I'm born and raised in China, and I'm still trying to learn how things work here. I'm studying here right now, after all. Back to Alastor. What I want to say is, for an audience like me who didn't catch the above idea, his backstory illustrated him as a petty and small-minded guy who would kill someone just because they spilled a drink on him. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Anyway, Season 2 gives us a more complete picture of Alastor. It makes him beyond a character that's all concept and no soul. Pun intended. I'm curious to see how he's gonna play in the following stories after his major goal was accomplished, unchaining himself. There are still mysteries revolving him, like how he met Nifty and his reason for killing, if there's anything more than just fun. His relationship to the hotel is a time bomb that would definitely blow up when it comes to time, considering how Charlie trusted him, but Mr. Murderer himself clearly doesn't hold a very positive attitude towards the hotel's vision.
You see, I've been there about a year or so, and after all of the pointless singing and crying, I'm afraid I see no further reason for my presence there.
Maybe he will take on an antagonistic role in the future seasons, and I can see the potential of this Alastor plot time bomb triggers a crucial character development for Charlie. Speaking of Charlie, our girl Charlie. She didn't get much development in this season. She's still the naive little princess of hell, always good-intentioned but mess things up at times. While the lack of development of the protagonist is a criticism on its own right, I do think the writers relies a little too much on Charlie's naivety and foolery to create conflicts. This is especially apparent when, in both instances where she mishandles her relationships, it doesn't leave a great impression when both times it's people around her who cover for her mistakes and actively fix them. Protagonists often make mistakes, but the way Hazbin writes Charlie doesn't show much of her autonomy or how she has learned from her past mistakes. Well, there is one line that stands out to me in a good way.
Do you think I could be redeemed?
I believe anyone can be redeemed.
This is the first time the show has made me feel Charlie's conviction to her ideals. I'd be happy to see the show explores more on that, like how sinners as irredeemable as Alastor could challenge her belief and eventually make her grow. Alright, y'all ready? This will be my biggest piece of criticism so far. I don't like how Season 2 handled Husk. In Season 1, he's a fairly established character who serves as a mentor figure, but then this season gives him a song, an absolutely goddamn fantastic song by the way, and somehow uses it to tear down everything Season 1 set up. The song makes me feel like that he doesn't regret his gambling addiction at all, and that he stopped only because he physically can't gamble under Alastor's control, not because he realized gambling was destroying him. And the moment he gets his freedom back, the very first thing he does is dive right into irresponsible drinking and gambling again? I always thought the takeaway message of Loser Baby was that companionship can hold you through your lowest point and help you inch towards something better. But now, the message feels like it's been warped into, yeah, I'm a loser for all eternity and I'm fine with it. That's not just cynical, it's misleading. And honestly, it makes the show feel twisted in a way I don't think it earns. I originally wanted to talk about other characters like Vaggie and explain more in the last two sections, but for the sake of the length of this video, which is already longer than my freaking final paper for English composition, let's get to the last parts, shall we? Last but not the least, I want to talk about Hazbin's music. Hazbin never disappointed me with their music. I think how much you enjoy Hazbin Hotel directly ties to how much you enjoy animated musicals. I'm not sure if anyone has similar feelings, but for me personally, it usually takes a good story or accompanying visuals to fall in love with a piece of music. Hazbin is a perfect example of that. If my memory was erased and I listened to any Hazbin songs completely without context, I would probably still think it's good, but it'll hardly leave any traces in my mind immediately after. However, if I followed along the story, I would care a lot more about the lyrics and characters singing them. And the amazing animation makes it even more enjoyable. Music is a very effective way to convey emotions, and it feeds back to the impressiveness of the characters and the plot. In turn, they form a positive feedback loop that mutually enhances each other. This is from a music amateur perspective. I'm nowhere near professional, so please don't take my words too seriously. I truly think Season 2 feels even better at using music as a storytelling method. The mastery use of leitmotifs and genre translation compresses the information that can take a lengthy conversation to tell down to just a few lyrics and feel equally powerful. Like how the song When I Think About the Future mashes up a perfect recap before the finale by using melodies and elements from previous songs to represent each character group. The hotel cast with piano and classic musical style, Vox with electronics and Once We Get Up There motif, Lute and Abel with rock and gravity motif, Sarah with church chorus. This 3-minute song summarized everything the show has built up to and advanced it one step further. Another reason I love so much about Hazbin's music is its flexibility, creativity, and boldness to include elements that are less seen in traditional musicals, like electronic, rock, and rap, which reminds me of Hamilton and Mozart the Rock Opera. It truly is a space to unchain artists, giving both animators and musicians a place to unleash their full creativity. For this video, I avoided talking about the show's fandom and purely focused on the show itself. This is by all means intentional, because just like the title has mentioned, I want it to be an honest review of Hazbin Hotel itself that I think it deserves, despite its notorious fandom reputation. However, there is one thing about this show's audience base that's almost the elephant in the room, and I do want to actively call out to. This is supposed to be an adult-facing show. This is supposed to be the grand context of discussions around its content. While it can be argued that the show should be 16 plus or 18 plus, it's certainly not for middle schoolers. We are probably never going to be able to get statistics on this, but I don't even want to imagine how many children below the supposed age are watching content not made for them. What made the show inappropriate to watch for children is not just the mere presence of drugs, violence, sex, swearing, and gambling. It's how these attributes are depicted often lightly and casually as a part of the character's allure. Adults are less impulsive. We have our prefrontal lobes more developed and are more likely to judge the elements and values expressed in the show through a skeptical lens. But children are much more vulnerable to getting lost in this kind of narrative. We don't know which message is more easily grasped from the perspective of a child, Charlie's ideals, or how drugs are cool, abusers are sexy, and gambling and drinking irresponsibly are fine. If you're under 16 and you're watching Hazbin Hotel, I'm not going to get mad at you or take your phone away or anything. I'm just a stranger on the internet trying to give some genuine advice. Cause I was a child not long ago, and I know how it feels to have a show with characters you enjoy so much, how it brings you joy and even sparks your own creativity, how you think you must be mature enough to differentiate good and evil. But loving something doesn't mean you're ready for everything it contains. Some stories are best enjoyed when you can fully understand the complexities behind them. Rushing into them too early might actually take away the meaning they're trying to convey. And it's not that the show is bad, it's that it's meant for a version of you a few years down the line, when you can appreciate it without getting pulled in by the wrong message. Let adult content return to adults. That's the only way we can get real freedom of choice. This is definitely gonna be the most controversial video I've ever made, and my first real video on YouTube, woohoo! Oh yeah, just mentioning that English is not my first language, and I apologize if the English is weird at times. It'd be a lie to say that I'm not anxious about the response it receives. Maybe nobody cares, maybe people will hate it, maybe it'll be chill, or a combination of those, whatever. It's a fresh attempt. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoy the video, and see you next time.